Hey, Michael.
Gone.
How are you?
Hey, Mike, do we have a finalized lease? It's all done and everything? Good to go with West Valley?
All right. Very good. Is it?
Get on here now. Made it. What do I do to get on here? Or am I already on here anyway? Okay. Okay.
Started yet. 3 minutes.
Oh, I made it.
I'm gonna shut your door.
Okay. Thank you. I'll tell you, it's a crazy world out there. Safer in here. Close the door. Don't want to ever come out. Just okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Oh, it's still morning. My bad. Rushing the day.
Good morning, members of the board who are joining us virtually. We're going to get started just a little bit this morning. I apologize for the delay as we are waiting for the board members who are en route here in person at the moment. I'll keep you posted. Please stand by. And for the board members here in the room, we have two new board members with us. We have Vice Mayor Laura Cano from City of Goodyear and Councilmember Jimmy Davis from the City of Tolleson. We look forward to you all being able to meet in person. So I'll mute and keep you posted on our start time.
You might have to sit down. We'll do these as a sign.
Yeah.
Turn the microphone. Hold on when you're speaking.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm the chair pro tem. It's what happens, I guess. Anyway, I'm going to call us to order. We have two new members on the board. To my left, immediate left, is Vice Mayor Laura Cano, representing the city of Goodyear. And to my far right, we have Council Member Jimmy Davis, representing the city of Tolleson. Welcome. And you get to chair next time. Pat, will you please call the roll?
Good morning, everyone. City of Avondale, Councilmember Maxine White.
Here?
City of Buckeye, Vice Mayor Clay Goodman.
Present.
City of Chandler, Vice Mayor O.D. Harris. He is on his way and should be here shortly. Councilmember Monica Dorsey.
Here.
Councilmember Peggy McMahon, Town of Fountain Hills. Town of Gilbert, Mayor Bridget Peterson. Here. City of Glendale, Councilmember Lauren Tomlichoff. Here. City of Goodyear, Vice Mayor Laura Cano. Here. Maricopa County, Chairman of the Board of Supervisors, Jack Sellers.
Here.
City of Mesa, Vice Mayor Francisco Heredia. City of Peoria, Vice Mayor John Edwards.
Here.
City of Phoenix, Councilmember Laura Pastor. Representing the City of Phoenix for Valley Metro Rail only today is Jesus Sapien. Jesus, are you on?
I am indeed, ma'am.
Thank you. Town of Queen Creek, Councilmember Jeff Brown.
Good morning, I'm here.
City of Scottsdale, Vice Mayor Kathy Littlefield.
Here,
City of Surprise, Councilmember Allie Klein.
Here.
City of Tempe, Councilmember Jennifer Adams.
Here.
City of Tolleson, Councilmember Jimmy Davis. Town of Wickenburg, Mayor Rui Pereira. And Town of Youngtown, Mayor Michael LaVault. Chair, we're ready to proceed.
Thank you. If a committee member would like to ask a question or make a comment during the meeting, please type your comment in the box and it will be read aloud and answered. All meeting attendees, please mute your computer and microphone or phone. I would like to take a moment to congratulate Jessica on being selected as one of the most influential women of 2024 by Arizona Business Magazine. Congratulations. Well deserved. You want to make a curtain call or?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. I recognize that this recognition is not just for me, but it is for Valley Metro, the entire team, and an important recognition of the work that you do every day, connecting communities and enhancing lives.
I think it's just a testament to the impact that you've had in the relatively short time that you've been here. So again, hearty congratulations on a well-deserved honor. Public comment. The public will be provided with an opportunity at this time to address the committees on non-agenda items and all action agenda items for joint RPTA and VMR meeting agendas. Up to 3 minutes will be provided per speaker unless the chair allows for more at their discretion. A total of 15 minutes for all speakers will be provided.
There are no speakers today, Chair.
Surprisingly. And now I get to turn this over to OD.
I'm a second to sit down.
Hi, everyone. Thank you guys for being here today. I really appreciate everyone and their time that they spent to be here. So glad to be here and Thank God I got out of traffic,
I
okay?
told them traffic from the East Valley was terrible.
It was horrible. All right, so, Mayor, thank you so much for for starting this meeting now. I really appreciate it. And so, if we have not already opened, have we opened? We convene. Okay, let's reconvene then. Let's-
Done roll call. Recognize Jessica.
Right after public comment.
Public comment, we have nobody here for public comment, start that.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, everyone. So at this time, we're going to have our Chief Executive report by Jessica.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members of the board. I want to begin a brief report today by sharing a mission moment. Again, our mission here is connecting communities and enhancing lives. August and the months before, and honestly, the months right after are hot here in the Valley. We have a fairly comprehensive heat relief program. We work on this across multiple departments within Valley Metro and with our member communities. We have been out distributing water and other heat relief tools. We have also reissued revised instructions to our frontline teams to help them identify and assist customers who might be experiencing heat-related illness. Thank you to the teams for your continued work in this area. We know that we're experiencing a lot of heat-related illness and sometimes even death across the Valley, and Valley Metro is doing our part. Last month, we had an exciting event. We had a visit from Second Gentleman Douglas Emhoff, who joined us to celebrate the award of a $15.9 million RAISE grant that is supporting continued planning and design of the Rio East Dobson streetcar extension. Special thanks to Vice Mayor Heredia, who spoke at the event, Vice Mayor Harris, and Councilmember Pastor, who joined us for that historic moment. I think this is a testament to the impact that our already still young streetcar is having in the Valley. The Rio East Dobson extension would be a 4.6 mile extension. About 60% of that would be within the city of Tempe, 40% within the city of Mesa. It's received broad public support in our planning and engagement thus far. And we anticipate that this RAISE grant award is going to springboard that work and carry us through conceptual design. We are excited to advance that in the coming months. With the support of Councilmember Klein, who's joining us virtually today, we have expanded our efforts to increase access to accessible transportation services. As you may be aware, customers are historically required, this is an FDA recommendation, that they become recertified for ADA paratransit service every 5 years. We have a wonderful facility, the Access Center, which is near our 44th Street station, where we provide these assessments. However, we recognize that our service area is large and growing, and we have taken to bringing mobile assessments to people in their home communities. We conducted our first mobile assessment last week in the City of Surprise. That was a great partnership between Valley Metro, City of Surprise staff. Thank you so much for hosting us, and our contractor MTM. We had 12 participants on that day, and these weren't just, these customers came from the cities of Avondale, Glendale, Goodyear, Sun City and Sun City West, and the City of Surprise. And demand was so large that we've scheduled a second event coming up on August 26th. We anticipate that that event will be fully booked before the end of business tomorrow. We're continuing full speed ahead on our fare technology modernization update. Dare I say, we are in our last lap of fare collection. We have frontline staff out there right now, making sure our customers are aware and have access to the new fare equipment. We have begun releasing Copper Card. That's a stored value card that is supported by an account-based system. Our customers can register online. They can protect their balances if they lose their card, which is very important. You can't do that with a magnetic stripe card or a paper pass today. We did a soft launch of our new fare website. We have updated the Valley Metro app, so you can now support your account using our mobile application. As of today, we will have trained all of our Allied Universal Security frontline guards on the new fare collection system approach. Instead of carrying handheld validators, which are limited in number, they will now validate fares electronically using a cell phone device. Much more convenient. It's also going to be a lot faster and going to allow us to move those fare inspectors more quickly throughout the entire system. We're continuing the equipment upgrade, which is really the heavy lift of fare collection. To date, we've installed 418 of our 792 fare boxes. They're in use. We expect fare box installation to be complete by the end of October. Over on the rail side, we're also a little over halfway with ticket vending machine completion. We have 55 out of 106 machines installed at light rail platforms. Every platform now has at least one functioning new ticket vending machine. The next phase is installing that second ticket vending machines, and the number of ticket vending machines varies a little bit by platform based on the layout and the utilization at that station. And then we'll begin removing the existing Scheit-Bachmann technology, which is still out there today. So Herculean lift. I thank the Valley Metro team. This really is a whole agency project for your work being out there nights, weekends, hot times during the day, supporting our customers. So we look forward to the full release in late October.
So with our rollout with,
Put your
our,
microphone.
it is,
okay, sorry, go ahead.
with the rollout of the virtual cards that we have, how will that work along with the ticketing machine? Is that just for customers who may not be aware that they can download the app and essentially do virtual technology to get a ticket?
So you'll actually, customers who are likely to use the ticket vending machine might be customers who are paying cash. They might want a single ride or round trip ride, but you can also reload your copper card at those TVMs conveniently at the time that you arrive. So you can insert your card, add some value to it with cash or a credit card. This is especially important for our customers who are choosing to pay cash. We're also bringing online a network of third-party vendors. Circle K is a major vendor. They'll be up by the end of the month. And as you can imagine, with the footprint and the number of outlets that Circle K operates in our service area, that's a very important resource where customers can load their fare in their community. This is important because the majority of our customers actually begin their trip at a bus stop every day and not at a light rail platform. So we want to get this fare in their hands, if not electronically via the app or the website, then through a retail outlet that they're frequenting as part of their everyday life.
And then in terms of like our seniors, we're still working with our seniors, our vulnerable population, to make sure that we can help them fill out the information that they need. Because I know on the website, there's ADA information, there's ways that people who are in vulnerable communities where they can kind of support, where they can get if this is their means of transportation, they have a way of doing it. We're still making sure we're actively doing research.
Yeah, so for our reduced fare eligible customers, which might be our elderly customers, our customers who experience disabilities, we've already mailed cards to those who are in our database. So if you're a paratransit user, you're a very important citizen who might be over the required age and we know where you're at, we've already sent you a card. And that was a layer that we added to this project through the urging of this board. So they were the first to receive cards, actually.
Okay, good.
As they should be.
Exactly. You keep going.
I want to give you an update on our fare inspection and security services procurement. Now, this is a Valley Metro-wide contract, though our fare inspection and security workforce currently provided by Allied Universal operate primarily on Valley Metro rail and streetcar, but we also have personnel stationed at our operating facilities, including the Mesa Greenfield Bus Operations and Maintenance Facility and our rail operations and maintenance center located near Sky Harbor Airport. We anticipate releasing this procurement tomorrow, actually, so very timely. This has been a topic of great discussion within the Valley Metro Rail Board. The approach that we're taking to the scope, or that we have taken to the scope, is really emphasizing presence, leading with customer service, and then followed by civil enforcement. And the way we've structured the requirements, it really is focused on maximizing the hours of personnel presence of guards across the system. We've also included language and evaluation criteria that emphasizes quality. So the quality of the guard candidates that we're looking for, and we're taking into account our recent experience with things like wage rates. We know when we have made adjustments in wage rates in late 2022, in just July 1 last month, we saw an increase in the number of guards, but also the quality and the caliber of the talent that we're seeing. So as I said, that'll be advertised this month. We're going to bring it back to this board in January for an award. One of the items we've been discussing is that with a single security contract, the biggest thing we've been struggling with is workforce availability. And we've had vacancy rates as high as 50% on that contract. We just can't leave that much of the contract uncovered. So in addition to the measures I just described, our intention is to issue both a primary award and a secondary contract award. Right now, we're really only equipped to have one contract firm out providing security services on the system. The security firm is responsible for dispatch control. Ultimately, I'd like to bring that in-house. That's a future phase. And then it would be feasible for us to operate with multiple contractors. In the event our primary awarded contract was unable to fulfill the terms of our agreement, then we would move to activating the award and issuing a task order to the secondary award. This was a lot of discussion that took place in the months leading up to the RFP development so that we could ensure that we had an opportunity to exercise a change within the contract short of going back out for a full reprocurement, which, as you can see, it takes almost a year to execute that. This contract will begin in late spring, early summer of 2025. Our aim is to have that new contract on board in time for the opening of the South Central Light Rail extension in Phoenix. Another important procurement that I am so pleased to announce is our comprehensive operational analysis. This RFP is out on the street right now. For those of you new to our board, a comprehensive operational analysis is a system-wide planning study. We're focused on our on-street services. That's bus and microtransit, which always has implications for services like paratransit, where and how we provide that. Our aim with this work is to identify unmet needs in the system. Our valley is changing very quickly, so too do our travel patterns. The available tools, technologies, ways of providing mobility have changed as well. Our goal at the end of the project is to arrive at a series of recommendations for improving service performance, productivity, and efficiency on behalf of our current customers and potential customers. We will be leading this project through a collaborative effort. It's led by Valley Metro, but including close participation from our member communities and our partners at MAG. We advertise this later this month, and we anticipate bringing this back to this board for a contract award in January of 2025. And finally, we now have our complete fiscal year 2024 ridership data in, and we are on a July through June fiscal year. So I want to give you a quick snapshot of regional ridership. System-wide, inclusive of all modes, in FY24, we grew about 6% over FY23. We're pleased to see that growth. We'd like to see more growth. We are a little bit slow behind our peers nationally as we're emerging from the pandemic. We're hopeful that investments in our regional bus system and then the rail expansions that we are steadily delivering are going to boost ridership. Regional bus ridership grew by 5%, 6% growth within the Valley Metro operated services, 4% within the City of Phoenix operated services. We continue to see slow growth in our express and commuter and rapid routes. Over at Light Rail, we've had 9% year-over-year ridership growth, which is wonderful. And we did open the Northwest Extension Phase 2 in FY24. We always see a little bit of a lag in ridership. Now that we've been operating that about 7 months, we're hopeful that that ridership will continue to grow. Oh, next slide, Stephanie. Yeah. Light Rail. And then streetcar is still our new darling service. So we grew 33% year over year with streetcar. Growth was certainly stronger in the beginning part of the fiscal year, so we're having a look at that trend. And just to note, streetcar has been free since we opened it on May 20th, 2022. We're working with the city of Tempe to introduce fare payment on streetcar. That'll happen in early 2025, so heads up, we expect fare payment to reduce ridership a little bit. But the good news is that most of our streetcar customers are members of the ASU community, whether students, faculty, or staff. So they have access to Platinum Passes, and we're hopeful to increase the utilization of the Platinum Pass across the ASU community so we can keep them on streetcar, bus, and light rail. All right, looking ahead, we have a regular September cycle. We will be back in this room on September 19th and then again on October 17th. That concludes my update to the board. May I answer any questions?
Questions? No questions? Huh? Thank you so much for the presentation. Next, we have on the agenda, the consent agenda. The consent agenda is presented for action. If there are any questions or if there are any items that our committee members need to see to be pulled for action or further discussion, this will be the time to do it. If not, a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items 3A through 3C is appropriate.
Chair Harris, Councilmember White has a
Oh,
question.
Councilmember White, go ahead.
Yeah,
Councilmember White.
I move to accept the consent agenda.
Okay.
Ally
Yep.
Klein, second.
Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. We'll move on to the next item. All right, the next item will be introduced by our CEO for Enterprise Governance and Risk and Compliance Software Contract. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
And also, while I provide an introduction, I'd like to invite Phil Aslan to the podium to provide a brief presentation. We have before you for your consideration and for approval, a request to issue a contract to Origami GRC Software in the amount of $1.182,400 plus a 10% contingency for a total not to exceed of $1.3,600,000 for a 3-year period. Origami software is an enterprise risk management compliance software. We have been seeking a tool that will allow us to relatively seamlessly and with greater automation than the spreadsheets that we're using today to track risk data. Our key customers with Origami are our legal team, led by Mr. Walro, our safety team, and our internal audit team. Right now, each of them have separate databases that don't interconnect. And as we are a large and expanding organization, being able to track incidents and events and understanding our risk is essential. So this would be the first tool that we would have in this space. I want to mention that Origami is utilized by many of our member communities. And in fact, here we seek to piggyback on a contract that's currently held by Maricopa County. I'll ask Phil Aslan, our Chief Information Officer, to provide you a brief overview of Origami.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. So once we realized that we had a number of risk silos, which we needed a holistic view across and an understanding of how they interrelate and apply on each other, we began the process of bringing the stakeholders together and reviewing systems that provide that service available on cooperative contract. So our chief legal officer, our chief auditor, our director of safety, security, of quality assurance, and our director of HR sat in a panel to review the various solutions that were available. And looking at Origami, it provided all of the functionality that we needed, was one of the most user-friendly solutions available, and would finally provide us with that holistic ability to see across the organization how risk is applied, as well as giving us a single source to keep all of our documentation, to track action items that result from various audits and reviews, to source all of our safety training and the documentation that that training has been performed, and a number of other items of documentation and scheduling to make sure that we complete all of those action items as required. Jessica's introduction covered a great deal of the purpose behind us seeking the software. So I am happy at this point to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, is there any questions from the board or committee members or online about the software? All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no further comment, there will be a request for a motion to forward to authorize the CEO to execute a cooperative contract under the Maricopa County Strategic Alliance for volume expenditures to say for Origami Risk GRC software in the amount of $1,182,400 plus a 10% contingency for a total not to exceed $1,300,600 for a 3-year period FY 2025, FY 2027. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion, is there a second? Okay, we have motion by Supervisor Jack Sellers and Vice Mayor Goodman. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, the ayes have it. We'll move forward to the next item on the agenda, number 5, strategic plan actions. I'm going to turn this over to our CEO.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll ask Jim Hilliard to come to the podium while I provide a brief introduction. As the board is aware, we did pass the strategic plan back in January, and at that time, we made a commitment to a quarterly progress update to the board. Many of those initiatives were scheduled to begin in fiscal year 25, and we are now at 52 days in to FY 25. So we have budding progress to report. Jim is going to walk you through the framework for reporting and introduce the initiatives that we are planning, or the actions rather, that we are planning in order to achieve our initiatives and ultimately our goal for each of our focal areas. I want to mention that each of those initiatives, many of them got a dollar sign behind them in the pyramids that you're going to see. That means there was an item included in the FY 25 budget. Work is already underway for each of those items. So Jim, you want to walk us through, and this being the first update where we're really laying out some of our action items. As always, we welcome feedback from the board and share the same with the Transportation Management Rail Management Committee on how you'd like to see this information reported. We've got pyramids, we've got graphs, we've got matrices. We want to keep it as straightforward as possible while still conveying our continued momentum. Yeah.
Thanks, Jessica. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members. So, come on now. There we go. As Jessica mentioned, we had decided to provide updates to you twice a year on each goal, thereby breaking the 9 goals into 2 groups, so we weren't trying to load any too much into any given update. And since this is the first of those updates, we wanted to really focus on just acquainting you with the actions that we'll be pursuing this year, so that on subsequent updates we can touch on what the results of those actions have been, both in terms of tasks accomplished and what the metrics are showing. So for this update, there we go. I'll be using this pyramidal graphic intended to illustrate how the goal is to be accomplished by the strategies that we're terming initiatives, and you see 3 here, and then the actions that we're pursuing in the present fiscal year. And as Jessica mentioned, those actions with dollar signs by them were in the 25 budget. That's a good thing because, as I said, the intent of spreading our goals across 2 different reporting cycles was to not bite off too much in any given cycle. However, as luck would have it, of the 35 things that we're working on this fiscal year, 25 of them are associated with the 6 or the 5 goals that you'll see today. However, 15 of those 25 were explicitly in the FY 25 budget, so hopefully those look familiar and don't require too much additional discussion. As a result, I'll really just touch on those that weren't in the budget, or maybe that aren't obvious from their descriptions. And the most important thing I'll do is to answer your questions, so please don't hesitate to stop me if you'd like to hear more about any particular action. So our first, our first goal is an excellent customer experience. You can see before you that all of these actions were included in the FY 25 budget. Are there any of them you'd like to hear a bit more about? If not, I'll move on to our next goal. Goal 3 is prioritizing safety and security on transit. 2 of these were explicitly included in the FY 25 budget. 2 others, crime prevention through environmental design and improving our internal safety communications, are probably relatively self-explanatory. The 2 out on the right really represent big picture, longer term work over the next several years. Outreach teams in this year, we'll be working on sort of building the relationships with nonprofit and social service organizations that we'll hope to build on in future years by creating an active partnership of having those folks on our system, serving folks experiencing homelessness, mental health issues, et cetera. expanding partnerships with police departments. This year, we're looking at just deepening the existing partnerships. So for example, we have real-time video coming off of our rail stations. We'd like to see if we could have that piped into the city's real-time crime monitoring systems to improve the timeliness of our work with police departments. Anything I can speak to of the remaining actions? All right, moving right along. Goal 4 is leveraging data and
Unless
tech.
I interrupt you, just keep going. Okay?
Will do, sir. I'll race through them. So goal 4 is leveraging data and technology. You can see 2 of these 4 were included in the FY25 budget. The one in the middle is probably the most interesting. That's the design and procurement of a customer experience system. So we're rich in customer data, whether it's complaints or customer data from the new fare collection system. But right now, each of those sits in its own separate island and doesn't talk to each other. And so what we really like to be able to do is to bring that data together so we can see a more holistic view of our customers, serve them better by knowing them better. Now, you'll notice there isn't a dollar sign on that one because we believe it's going to take us about a year to gather the requirements for what we're going to need in such a system and then conduct the RFP to procure it. We'll then be coming back to you in FY26, both for the budget for the system and for approval to issue the contract. So this is a preliminary year for us there. Moving on to goal 5, this is delivering on stakeholder collaboration. The 2 actions here are really very similar. They are assessing the ways that we communicate, identifying ways to improve upon them. On the left hand, it's improving the way we communicate, particularly with frontline workers, given that so many of them we access through contracts. And then on the right, in the way that we communicate with external entities and stakeholders. Then lastly, we've got the big kahuna. Goal number 8 is operational excellence. There are 9 of these divided between 2 slides. The good news is essentially all of them were included in the FY25 budget. So if there's any here you'd like to hear more about, I'd be happy to touch on them. Otherwise, the remaining 4 appear here. Any other questions I can answer on what we're tackling this year? As I say, we'll be coming back to you in subsequent months with updates on what we've actually done and the results we're seeing. We're also working to converge the reporting that we'll be doing on our strategic plan actions and our quarterly report metrics into a single document to make clearer the relationship between those 2 and streamline reporting to you.
Vice Mayor Goodman.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. This is the academic in me coming out, so I apologize in advance. But the verbs in here are really soft. You have, if you scroll back,
Yes, sir.
Especially on the goals. The very first one, excellent customer experience. Excellent is a relative term. So is there, I'm assuming there's a target underneath there, something that's objective and not subjective, as well as the other goals. I think the other one that popped out at me was leverage. It's also a really relative term. So I'm looking forward to the reporting back. As long as there's something solid underneath it that, gives the board a sense that progress is being made on this plan, which kind of leads into the reporting piece of all of this. And really simple, guys. So red light, yellow light, green light is good. You're making progress, no challenges. Red light, there's some things that got in the way. But it all ties back to, being very objective with these goals and then initiatives. So the question, simple yes or no, it's like, is there some objectivity built into this that gives us that? I'm looking at Jessica and Jim, so.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, every action has one or more specific performance outcomes and then mechanisms for measuring that. So when we identified the initiatives and actions at the same time, we identified specifically how we're going to measure it. We know that we can't count on progress unless we can measure it and see it. So thank you, Dr. Goodman.
All right, is there any further questions from the board? All right, this item is not up for action. Just govern yourself accordingly and make those adjustments as needed so board members can know exactly what those objectives are. All right, the next item we have on the agenda is travel and expenditures. This item doesn't require any action, but I want to turn it over to CEO if there's any travel or any expenditures that we need to be talking about.
No, the information is included in your packet.
All right, thank you so much. We'll move on to number 7, report on current events and suggested future agenda items. Want to open that back up to the,
I'm going to toss this item back to the board. If you have any events that you'd like to report on and share with your fellow board members or staff, or if the board would like to propose any agenda items to be scheduled for future board meetings, this is your opportunity to do so.
right, okay, seeing none, we'll welcome the new board members that has joined us today. We thank them for their service. And the next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, September the 19th, 2024 at 11:15 a.m. Thank you. The next one. This was our PTA meeting should be starting right now. All right, we're going to call the Valley Metro RPTA Board of Directors meeting. No roll call is needed, but there is action needed. Items 1A through 1C. A motion will be in line to approve the consent agenda for items 1A through 1C. Is there a motion?
So moved.
All right, we have Vice Mayor Laura. She just moved for, is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have Mayor Bridget Peterson. Any, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, those are opposed? All right, the ayes have it. We'll move on to the next item that's set for action, which is the election of the Valley Metro RPTA Audit and Finance Subcommittee positions. So there's a motion in place for the approval of the election of the Valley Metro RPTA Audit and Finance. Is there a motion on the floor to
I
approve
would
this?
move to approve Councilmember Peggy McMahon from the town of, my mic on. Sorry, Pat. Move to approve Councilmember Peggy McMahon from the town of Fountain Hills and Councilmember Jimmy Davis from the city of Tolleson to the AFS.
I second. Max White, Avondale.
All right, motion, there's a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All right, any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. All right, if there is any current events that any of the board members would like to bring forward, now is the time to do so. All right, seeing none, our next meeting is held for Thursday, September 19, 2024. That concludes our Valley Metro RPTA and Valley Metro Rail meeting.
Thank you, Chair. We will take just a couple of minutes to transition from the RPTA meeting to the Valley Metro Rail Board meeting. Valley Metro Rail Board members, you were provided a confidential link to the executive session that you should dial into when you have a moment. We will start with that.
Take care.
See everyone in the exec session.
For our new non-Valley Metro Rail board members, you're welcome to stay and join us for the Valley Metro Rail board meeting in a non-voting capacity.
It's here. So I better stay. Yeah, but it's, so.
We have a form out. Yeah, Chandler. I know. He's on the Valley Metro.
I know. Oh, yeah. Are you staying for rail? I went.
Councilmember Littlefield, you are welcome to disconnect from the WebEx. Your Valley Metro RPTA is concluded.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey Pat, do we open up the meeting?
Yes,
For
sir, when you're
rail.
ready. Yes, and we'll take a motion in a second to enter into executive session, and then we'll all leave this room and go next door. So when you're ready.
Okay, sorry for the noise, but let's convene and welcome members to our August meeting of rail. The first the request is an executive session. I request a motion and a second to enter an executive.
Okay, council member, hold on one second. I've got to round up a couple board members. I can't. Okay, so we need a motion and a second to enter into executive session.
Motion. And second.
Mr. Please, second the motion if you agree.
I couldn't hear you, Pat.
And
Can you provide the second to council?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I second the motion. Do you need me in e-session? I don't have the link.
Okay, I will send that to you right now. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you.
perfect. We'll move on to executive session. The second motion, first motion by Council Vice Mayor Odie Harris and second by City Phoenix. All in favor, say aye.
Say aye.
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 All right, we'll start our executive session in a couple minutes, Pat.
Yes, just like 2 minutes. I have to provide a link to Mr. Sapien.
Perfect.
We won't be in there long. So we're going to
All right, Pat, just let me know when we can start.
Chair, we're ready.
Chair.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you. We'll start with item number 2. Take action on the executive session. And request a motion and a second to direct staff on the item discussed in our executive session.
Yes, Chair, I would like to make a motion to settle a claim with Waste Connections not to exceed 220,000.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. We'll continue our agenda with our consent agenda as presented for action. If the committee members have any questions or comments, if not, request a motion and a second to approve agenda items 3A through 3E.
Chair. I would
Yes.
like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1A through 1E.
Mr. Chair, this is Hafiz from Phoenix. I will second that motion.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll move on to item number 4, Capital Light Rail Extension Construction Manager Risk Contract Award. Jessica, information on this item?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of Valley Metro Rail Board. I'd like to invite Trevor Collin, our Chief of Capital Development, to the podium to provide you with background information on our recommendation to award a contract to Southwest Transit Partners in an amount not to exceed $5,809,300 plus 10% contingency to Southwest Transit Partners, which is a joint venture between Stacy and Whitbeck on the construction manager at risk for capital extension. And I want to mention before Trevor begins that we are bringing this measure to you here in the month of August pretty quickly after we really had to pivot on the design of the capital extension light rail project in response to language included in Senate Bill 1102, which prohibited light rail construction in the capital corridor, is really a testament to the quick and steady work of the capital development team. So Trevor and team, well done. Thank you for honoring our partner City of Phoenix's desire to move on this project as quickly as possible. Would you provide us an overview?
For proposals. We did receive 3 offers and ultimately made the selection with the highest selected team of Southwest Transit Partners, which is a Sant and Stacy Whitbeck joint venture. We have some representatives from that team actually sitting here today. This notice to proceed is just for over $6 million. It is for pre-construction services. So with the construction manager at risk delivery method, we have quite a few things that happen in concert with the same time that we're developing the design for the project. They're listed there. I'll point out a few key ones is design and constructability reviews, having the contractor at the table with us to provide comments, to also provide preliminary estimates, scheduling. Having that partner at the table is really valuable as we develop the project further towards ultimately a full funding grant agreement in hopes of that FFGA with the federal government, the FTA. Another thing to point out is they do develop a workforce development program. Also, they work with DBEs and set their commitments with regard to that as well. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, any questions from board members?
No questions, Chair.
Okay, no questions here. Phoenix? All right. Request a motion and a second to authorize the CEO to execute a contract for the Capital Light Rail Extension CMR risk contractor for the pre-construction services with CP for an amount not to exceed $5,809,300 plus an additional $580,000 930, 10% contingency. Request a motion.
Motion.
All right, Mr. Vice Mayor Odie Harris, second.
I'll second.
All right, there's a second on the table. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, we'll move on to item number 5, Light Rail Extension Public Art Services Contract Award. Jessica?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Collin.
Thanks. Thank you, Jessica. Mr. Chair, members of the board, this is the same project, capital extension. This is our art service contracts. With this action, we would be awarding a total of 9 contracts. I'll give you a little bit of information. We released the procurement in May of this year, and we received over 200 applications. And it's quite a process to whittle that down to 9 artists, but we use a stakeholder art review committee, which is comprised of people that either work, volunteer, or live close to the project site to help us select those artists. We are looking at 4 station platforms, and so 4 of the artists will be station artists, and then the remaining 5 will have artwork throughout the other parts of the project. Here are the names listed. I will not read them all, but both stakeholder art review committees made these selections specific for stations and non-station artists. A little bit about the contract. It will be 1.6 million in total for all 9 of the art contracts. It is a 5-year term or until the project is completed, meaning the art is in place, commissioned, and installed, all ready to go. The artist will work in close coordination with both the construction manager at risk and our design team, Jacobs. And with the award of this contract, we'll start more public outreach meetings in the fall. I'm happy to take any questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none. I request a motion for the CEO to execute 9 contracts that goes by the stakeholder for the Capital Light Rail Extension Public Art Services for a total amount not to exceed $1.6 million.
Motion.
So motion, and then the second. All right.
I will second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Item number 6, Operations and Maintenance Center Sole Source Parts Inventory Contracts. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have before you for your consideration a request to issue 4 separate contracts, each sole source, with vendors of parts to support the maintenance of our light rail vehicles in an aggregate amount not to exceed $1.6 million. Those parts include our light rail vehicle track components, coupler systems and components, bumper systems, alignment specialty signal components, and circuit boards and sensors. We have staff on hand to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Any questions?
No questions, Chair.
Okay. Hearing none, I request a motion and a second to authorize the CEO to execute 3-year sole source contracts for LRV and Mo parts inventory with the original equipment manufacturers, OEM, and an agreement amount to not to exceed $1.6 million. Your motion?
Motion.
Okay. Second?
I will second.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. Item number 7, report on current events and suggested future agenda items. Any requests?
None. I have none.
All right. Hearing none, next meeting is Thursday, September 19th, 2024. Appreciate it. Thank you. Y'all have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you all
allowing
for
me
your
to,
time today.
Be on the phone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board.